mustache brothers. So may the best man win.
Man, the facial hair game is strong with us this week.
Yeah, as I say, I think we got some people noticing, aka Just Joe.
Yeah, I know. He's like, what's going on with that? I like it. Shout out to Joe. What's up, buddy?
Do you like
Patriots did not.
do you like how I buttoned up the whole flannel today?
You're very like shoe bomber-esque, I think.
Yes, yes. I'm just your average day Wicker Park walker.
Yeah, it is very hipster.
No, we can't talk about football anymore, Roman. I'm sorry. Both our teams.
Okay. I know. It's sad, man. I'm voting for the Bucks, I think. I want to see Brady get number 7. Let's get it.
You know what? Well, he first has to surpass the other GOAT of football. So.
Who's that?
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees. What does he have to surpass Brees on?
Because they're playing each other for the next round.
Oh, yeah. I know. It's going to be a legendary game. It's going to be epic. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm actually really excited for that one.
They were joking around about them being like so old. It was like kind of hilarious. They were like, "What do you think? How do you think they feel when people do that to them?"
They probably don't like it. Oh well. What are we talking about today, buddy?
So guys, today is Friday when this episode releases. Since we record and just send out the videos same day. No. Today is Wednesday, second week, or is it the third week? Is it the third week already or second week of January?
I think it's the second because it's the 13th. So yeah. Because the week's technically started the Monday. Our week, our like shipping week started on the 4th. So the second week.
Yeah.
21.
So it's already the middle of January. Roman and I are just killing the facial hair game. Roman literally looks like a grizzly bear. I just look like, not hating on the hipster population. I don't ever recall myself ever being a hipster, but you got Mr. Hipster over here. But episode 62, guys, we are talking about active recovery. What is active recovery? Why we do it? What are some activities that Roman and I share when it comes to active recovery? And also, why is it such an understatement to use active recovery days and not pretty much sit like a sloth all day on your couch? Because in reality, we're going to go over like what's like the major benefits. So, it's not your typical rest days, more or less. So Roman, why don't we get into like what the definition is of active recovery day and like what it is first. So.
Sweet. Sorry, just pulling up my Google Doc now. So pretty much what I wanted to like bestow upon our listeners today is that in general, I would recommend active recovery days, especially like sprinkle them in like every once in a while. It's okay to have like a lazy type day. I'd still say like try to be somewhat active, like at minimum. I think like Eric Helms with 3DMJ was saying like try to get like 6,000 to 7,000 steps if you can, if you're like a generally active person or you seek a generally active lifestyle. So if like you're an able-bodied person, you're able to do that. I highly recommend that. I would just say that like an active recovery day would be a day where you seek activity which is low stress. So nothing like sprints or going for a long run or like an extremely hard bike ride, like a mountain biking bike ride, but like low stress physical activity in the hopes of, one, reducing overall stress levels, which is probably the number one way that active recovery can help maybe, possibly, potentially speed up recovery. Ooh, speed up recovery. And 2, another hypothetical or hypothesis for active recovery, that it could speed up recovery by getting some anabolic metabolites and or other materials into the muscles themselves, such as like getting the muscles like pumped up so that it can provide them the resources they need to rebuild.
Yeah, and then keyword there, Roman said anabolic. So when you think anabolic, Roman's talking about steroids. So every time he uses that word, he should tell the listeners that he's talking about steroids the whole time. But the only thing I wanted to add real quick before you keep going is to Roman's point, he probably said it, but to point out, like, this is a day considered as an off day. You won't be going to the gym, you won't be lifting, or if you're like a sprinter, you won't be sprinting, or if you're a runner, you won't be running, or if you're a cyclist, you won't be cycling that day. So Roman, keep going.
Yeah, definitely. I forget what my tangent was. That's okay. So I was reading in the NSCA's Certified Personal Trainer book this morning, just like trying to get some like additional notes for the podcast today. And like one of the things that I talked about, which is like, I think we all know, but like sometimes like, we might forget type situation. But if you don't know, now you know, or you will know in a moment. So it like broke down like the different types of like changes that happen like in our like system in general. So talked about like muscular changes when we perform like resistance exercise training, like that stuff is really good for us. It helps, us maintain and build really strong bones, really strong muscles, really strong, resilient minds. Amazing. But one of the things that happens, one of the local or the acute effects, is that some of the substrates within our muscles will decrease, of course, right? So things like creatine phosphate will decrease. So it's important that we get in like certain protein sources, and or also important that if you do take a supplement like that helps with like ATP production, which is like overall energy balance, energy production, etc. It's important if you can like tolerate it, which I think most people can, that you consume at least like some carbohydrates post-workout and maybe even potentially pre-workout, because your glycogen stores are reduced from a bout of resistance exercise activity. Excuse me, it's not a tremendous amount, you're not going to go from like, you're not going to have like an hour-long like bodybuilding workout session and you're going to be like totally depleted, nothing like that. But the numbers that I recall from the book said that upwards of 80% of like bodybuilding type exercises are going to be glycolytic in nature, which means that it's going to use a lot of energy, and in particular, it's going to use a lot of glycogen or a lot of fuel for the muscles to work, to be able to contract and perform the activities you want them to. You want to do a curl, you want to do an overhead press, you want to squat, whatever it might be, well, that requires energy to do that. So it's important that you put that energy, those substrates back in your body. That rice, that potato, that whole wheat spaghetti, regular spaghetti, whatever you want. Have a bowl of ice cream, whatever you want, folks. So yeah, I talked about like endocrine changes, hormones, how like hormone production can be like somewhat blunted after about a resistance exercise activity. That's why it's important to like make sure we have like a well-balanced diet where we are getting in some healthy fats, so we can help to build those like cholesterol backbones of those hormones. So it just went through like a whole litany of different things. I won't bore you too much, but it's just good to remember that when we working out in nature is actually catabolic, so it cuts or breaks down certain molecules in the, and after we work out, that's when we want to refuel and use things a nice walk with a partner or some friends and just like chat and catch up with how our days going, weeks, etc. Maybe like a nice like slow, calm, relaxing bike ride, so we can get some some much needed exercise, which is good for the brain. Nothing too strenuous. Potentially pump up the muscle. As I mentioned, I think one of the number one benefits of active recovery is reduce overall stress levels.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad you talked about a little bit about nutrition too, because I didn't even write this down, but with the active recovery days too. So another key thing is to think about nutrition. So maybe strategize like your eating habits a little bit differently. I wouldn't say too much. I mean, if it was me, maybe like on the active recovery days, maybe I wouldn't care too much about hitting protein at the highest level, or like meeting the number too much. As long as I get close, like within the 20 or 30 grams, I'm okay. Like today, like Wednesdays and Saturdays are my technically off days, but like most of the time when it comes to fueling up and getting ready for like tomorrow's session, like Thursday, or getting ready, for the week on Saturday when I'm off, and then Sunday I start working out again. What I like to keep in mind is like, hey, maybe I don't need all that glycogen throughout the day if I'm not going to be workout. I know Roman said it was important for like after working out, before working out, but sometimes like maybe if I want to get a little bit lighter on carbohydrates, or and go a little bit higher on fats and lower my protein levels, that's totally fine. Obviously, when you have different eating habits, everyone's going to be different. Some people might want a little bit load up on carbohydrates, eat lower fats, and then protein, just like I said, hit or get a little bit lower than that on those active recovery days, because it is important to kind of understand like why we use food when it comes to training days and compared to off days. Most of the time too, what I would suggest is like maybe not like go off your eating habit too much when it comes to the non-training day, because what will happen too, people will fall into bad habits like, hey, I'm not working out today, hey, let's go out and go to a buffet, let's go to all you can eat sushi. So it just sometimes people get into that habit where you still want to think of it as an overall like a health benefit day, and it's just as important as a training day. So Roman, I know we mentioned a lot of good stuff there. I think we can you mentioned it a little bit, but I think we could talk about why we should do active recovery days. I know you mentioned like the biggest definition is to reduce stress, but what else is there? Like when I think of like why we do it, I think of like the mental stress of lifting, the mental stress of like life itself and trying to stay healthy, catching up, like you said, with a partner. But and would you say that inflammation too, like, well, actually, no, that'd be towards the training day, but like, why would we do active recovery days? Like what's the whole point of that?
Yeah, so you can definitely program like intentionally for some of those purposes. So for example, let's say you typically will work out like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You've got like really busy like work schedule throughout the week, and in particular Tuesday and Thursday you've got like long meetings. So you pretty much just have enough time to go do like a quick social thing on Tuesday, Thursday when we're not in COVID times, and then you eat dinner and then you go to bed type situation, whatever it might be. But you want to stay active on the weekends, but you're not really like looking forward or looking into like doing like resistance exercise training. So what are like the potential benefits of implementing like active recovery on the weekends, for example, in this like hypothetical person, like we'll call it Bill schedule. One, I would say it allows you to like do other things that you enjoy, physically speaking. Once again, as long as like they're not too strenuous. So active recovery should be something that is low stress. It could be yoga. It could just be like gentle stretching, like whatever it might be. It should be geared in the mindset of like low stress, low fatigue. So if you find yourself like stressing out about like, I'm going to do this Bikram yoga, like maybe that's not a good active recovery tool for you. So because I really do believe that like stress or high cortisol levels, because like cortisol is necessary for us to function, but high stress or high cortisol levels can be like extra catabolic or like extra harmful to us, in that it can like harm our brain chemistry. It can affect our recovery times. So if generally after like a really hard leg session, it takes you about like 1 to 2 days to recover, but you've been really stressed because of this deadline at work, and now it's taking you like 4 or 5 days to recover, it could potentially be like just down to stress in general. So lowering your overall stress would be like one of the most beneficial tools. So active recovery can help with allowing you to do other active things that you enjoy to do. It can help you reduce stress. It can help you manage fatigue as well. So if it's well programmed, if you find, I'm like one of those people that finds that like I'm always battling fatigue from the gym, because like I really do like to train really, really hard and push myself to the limits in the gym, maybe a little bit too much. So I've experimented with like different techniques, like doing 3 days on, 1 day off type situation, or just like 5 days on, 1 day off, like 6 days on, 1 day off, that kind of thing. So as a fatigue management tool, I think active recovery days could be really, really beneficial for you as well.
Yeah, yeah. And back to your point about like doing things you love, like, and just like kind of like, doing your own thing. But when I come to like active recovery days too, is for me, like I used to be a basketball player. I probably mentioned this once or twice before, back in the day when I was a youngin. But like, like for my off days, like I would walk to a park and just shoot the basketball around, shoot it around, and just get the blood flow going. And honestly, like I know like walking can help, like, relieve like the stress and the blood flow to your legs, especially like Roman mentioned, like the leg days that will take the 1 or 2 days. But like, if you think about this way, like if you're shooting a basketball, you're doing like I would say light jumping, you're moving around, you're actually like using your whole upper body too. So you're using a lot of chest, shoulders, triceps, forearms to grip the ball. So like, something like that, like I know it seems so like, like, what, Antoine, why are you thinking about it so hard? But it makes sense. Like, so like maybe you used to play hockey. Maybe you played hockey. So maybe what if you went outside and took the net, and if you use rollerblades, or you're just using your regular shoes, like you're slapping the puck. You're using upper body strength. You're moving around. We're not saying go in a session where you're gonna kill yourself and like with all like the strenuous work. But another thing too, why we do active recovery days, maybe it's because I'm getting a little bit older, but like we're talking about like family. So like a big thing about like me is like I strive like for my family and friends to be like on point with health, trying to make them as health conscious as possible, because think about it this way, we want them there as long as possible. So when it comes to like back home, when we were back home, on like the off day, like we would go have dinner like on Saturday, or like during the week when I'm working, we would drive over to my parents' house, like Sam and I, and we would have dinner with my parents, and then we'd walk like a mile or two. So just right there, like my parents are both over 60, and they're we're getting them moving right after dinner, kind of like the stand offering 10-minute walks, a little bit, 1.5 2 miles though is a little bit over 10 minutes, but like it gets the routine going for the whole family. So like if they notice that like we do that every time like we eat dinner, then they'll be like, okay, when we're by ourselves, like maybe we have all this energy, why don't we go take a nice walk, let's take a nice stroll.
Yeah.
Also too, like Roman and I are getting to that age where we know people that are starting to have kids, that have kids already, or planning to have kids, but like me personally, like I plan to have kids someday. So think about it this way too, on the active recovery days, you take your kid, you take little Billy to the park, and you let them run around, you walk around, like, maybe if there's a track, walk around, or even play with them, or even like play in the backyard. A lot of the times what I've noticed with this generation, and not to go on like a little rant, is, we have so much more electronics these days. um, a lot of people are forgetting when, your brother, your sister, your mother, your father would just take you outside, hit the baseball bat, and you didn't realize it back in the day, but that helped you, like, recover. It helped you, get out, get moving. So I know I'm thinking more bigger picture, but active recovery days, and I wrote down, it can help with habits. A lot of the times, like when I'm lifting, I nonstop think about lifting. Where like days like today, where I'm taking a walk with my wife, like I get to like free my mind. Like every idea is coming out. Like, what are we doing like next week? What are we doing next month? What's going on today? Like Roman was saying. So like, you're building the habits of you, your family, your friends, when they notice that stuff. You go out to eat with someone, maybe take a walk around the town, and get a good exercise in, meet, and then kind of go over, like, things that you guys want to talk about. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit more I wanted to share. Roman, what do you got?
Yeah, no, that's really good. And it also made me think like it creates like a general appreciation for movement too, which hopefully like if you have the ability to move, then like that's
Yeah,
amazing. Like that is like, man, that is a
can't take
blessing.
it for granted.
Yeah, it, yeah, seriously. And like the ability that you have to do that, like it sounds cliche, but like if you can do that, then like you have like almost unlimited possibilities. Like if you wanted to be like Forrest Gump and just like run across the country, like you could totally do that. I know a guy, he planned a trip to bike across the country and he did that. Like
Yeah,
he like would hide his bike up in a tree and he'd camp like by the side of the road like every night. Like he
I think you told me
has
about that.
yeah, he has like an amazing like appreciation for like movement and like what his body's like able to do. And like was he able to do that just like off the get-go? No. Like did he have to train for it? Of course. But like I think those kind of habits, if you're able to like turn them into a habit, or like some sort of like ritual that you like participate in frequently, then I think it will create like some level of appreciation of movement in general, which I think is good and like overall like healthy for the individual. It'll make them like feel better, appreciate life and everything it has to offer.
Yeah, yeah, and also too is like, and not just movement, but being able to lift and having that, that freedom to lift, especially now when like gyms are more open than not now. So it's a different story like 8 months ago, but like what I'm seeing now is, there's still a lot of people out there that are like crushing themselves in the gym. So be mindful. Of the stress that we're talking about, and like being able to recoup your body, because this active recovery, natty or not, you're still going to be, you're still going to need that time frame to heal up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever looked at like the old school Mark Bell stuff, he mentioned all the time, like, just because you're on steroids doesn't mean you don't take rest days. He said that you treat it just as you were natural. Like, you wouldn't go into the gym and crush your body, for 3 hours, and then go for a PM session and crush your body for another 3 hours.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean in a way like I obviously like I don't like take any like type of performance enhancing drugs.
what? That
Um,
beard is enhanced. I could
yeah,
tell.
that's true. That's
Literally,
true.
it's enhanced.
But I would say like almost in a way you have to be like I would say at least like just as careful, maybe even more careful about your recovery, because I think physiologically speaking, your muscles may have like a higher proclivity to grow at a faster rate, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your tendons and ligaments will. And like people will usually say like, oh, my muscles became like stronger. No, I think like probably what happened is that they were like fatigued or like inflamed, or like they were not as like well recovered as the muscle may have been, and that's why you might have gotten into some trouble, like a pec tear or like a quadricep tear or something like insane like that, because those are not easy muscles to like really disrupt in that way. I did want to go over like a quick like lightning round of things that like active recovery is not. So I just want to mention that it's not some secret recovery technique. Like, we talked about like walking, like a light bike ride. Light, emphasis on light, like you're not killing yourself.
Take a cruise. Take a cruise.
Light yoga type situation, like shooting some hoops, throwing on some rollerblades and doing some like light drills, no speed work for hockey, but like, trying to hit like the four corners with like your hockey stick and a puck type situation. Let's see. Yeah, that was pretty much it. I had a note that said pretty much like stay away from anything that's like too disruptive towards muscular systems to constitute active recovery. Not to say that like doing those things are bad. They're just not beneficial if recovery is a goal. So active recovery, the mindset is to like still stay active, like do things, but do them in like a mindful way. But you still have like recovery like in as like the main overarching goal.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to mention. The last thing that I wanted to mention, I don't know if you have anything else, Roman, before we close this, but don't forget, if your active recovery days are not working per se, like let's say you do the protocol where it's like, hey, I walked in the AM, I'm gonna go for a bike ride in the PM, or I'm gonna shoot around in the AM and take a walk for the PM, or take a bike ride in the PM. And if you wake up the next day and not really feeling refreshed, I mean, the leg, like Roman said, the leg day sessions might be a little bit like a second day recover day that you might need. But like if you're not feeling refreshed and like ready to train, maybe take a look at what you're doing on that active recovery day too, because we want to make sure we look at those too, just in case, like, hey, like what if, if your goal is to lose weight and you didn't gain or lose weight, but you did a little bit less, then maybe just do a little bit less next time, and you'll be more refreshed and more ready for the gym the next day. So you can burn that fat off, and you can gain that muscle, because burning fat and gaining muscle is like really easy to do.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. The last part I was just kidding about. I mean, like, just get to that goal, getting a healthier, lesser weight. But it'll help you, maintain that, because you're already dieting and whatnot. But like all that good stuff, and also too for the folks that are gaining weight or bulking. I'm gaining weight. I still have 2 active recovery days, and I train 5 days a week. So to the people out there that just try to get PHAT, make sure you're doing that too as well. That's other. I think that was like 3 last things, but I said 1. But
yeah, I mean, it's like I'm also like in a gaining phase, and although like I'm not tracking as diligently as I did starting last year, which was not diligent at all. I do try to still keep like protein in mind. I would actually say like on an active recovery day, I would still try to hit your protein target. Like you don't have to hit the high.
I said by 20, Roman. Leave me alone. I just sometimes sometimes I don't want to eat 180 to 200 grams of protein. Okay?
That's totally fine. If that's a strategy that works for you, that's fine. I'm just saying like what I do personally, what I would like recommend. Because I'm a little guy, so I only have to worry about getting 160 grams of protein in for 1 pound of body weight. Which can be hard actually, like I actually try to stay between like 0.8 and 1 gram per pound of gram of protein per pound of body weight. So sometimes I'll only get like 130 140 grams of protein in, and like I've learned like not to kill myself over that, because if I do find that like I'm under recovered, then I need to look at things like, okay, why am I under recovered? What have my protein targets been recently? Okay, protein target 160, and I had 120 the past like couple of days, and I wasn't always getting up to like 140 160 whatever it might be, 170. Okay, well that's an easy one. Like I will input one more meal with 20 grams of protein, like somewhere in the middle of the day, and boom, I'm at like 140 grams of protein. Like it's literally as easy as that. Like that is like what my mindset is. And if I find like my recovery is better the next week, then I'm like, yep, well, shouldn't have done that. Like I was just eating like too low like of protein type situation. So I don't know, I think that's more of like a pedantic point. So really like just do whatever, folks. On like the Gainz train, point real quick. If you are gaining right now, try to do it in like a slow but steady rate, I'd say. Depending on if like you're rebounding from like dieting at all from the summer or whatever, like if you might have been like in a dieting phase, like it's okay if like you pack it on like pretty quickly to start. But if it's a considerable amount, like if you've gone past that like 5 to 10 pound mark, maybe it's like important to like re-examine your diet. Obviously, if you have a coach and they're like reverse dieting you or anything along those lines, if they have a strategy, if they have a plan, like stick to that. But if you're doing it like by yourself, I would say like it might be like important to re-examine it because it's unlikely that like you gain 5 or 10 pounds of like muscle mass in like the course of a couple of weeks. If you were dieting for a while, it is possible that your muscles will kind of starve for like glycogen, water, that kind of thing. Hydration. That was actually a good point that I want to talk about. It's important to make sure you stay hydrated on active recovery days. It's a great time to catch up. Hydration is a multiple day process. You can't just get fully hydrated in a single day. It is actually very, very, very difficult to do. So if you are like planning like a PR workout even, like make sure you're like being well hydrated, taking in plenty of fluids, hopefully water, some type of like water, but like, you know, obviously there's many of other like beverages, fluids out there that you can consume. All of them, to the best of my understanding, will help you towards a hydration goal. Yes, even coffee, although coffee should not be the primary fluid.
I was gonna say tequila, but it's, I mean, you could just say that.
Whiskey and you.
Yeah, I mean, that honestly, we could probably dive into a hydration episode too, because you know I'm seeing all these people still making resolutions about drinking water. Like, holy cow! If you have to make a resolution, like, dude, I drink so much. I'm not even gonna say it.
Yeah.
But like, we could honestly, I think we could talk like a whole episode about hydration because there's still like a lot of things out there and a lot of benefits for it too as well.
Yeah. I could keep ranting, but I'll stop there.
Well,
thanks for tuning in, folks.
Thanks for tuning in on another episode, guys. We hope to see you guys in the next one. Please follow us on every video and audio source you can. We're on every platform. If we're not on a platform you don't see, please DM us directly. If you have any questions, concerns, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.